Okay, I wanted to put this video together because, unbelievably, the Bosnian pyramid scheme is still going. Despite being exposed years ago by me and others as being nothing more than archaeological fraud designed to boost tourism, you can still pay to go and see perfectly natural hills. Articles and videos in support of this amazing discovery are still being published online, and the same claims are still being made. So, here we go again. Pyramid-shaped hills and mountains are far from unusual and can be found all over the world. This is from India, this is from Egypt, and this is from Bolivia. And these are the same kind of angles, flat faces, and straight edges you see in abundance in Bosnia. Even before we landed in Sarajevo, I saw about a dozen hills or mountains that looked like pyramids, and on the numerous coach trips to sites of interest, they could be seen everywhere.
This looks like a pyramid.
They all look like pyramids. So many of them.
The so-called concrete slabs found on the Vizičica hill are not precise, but do have some quite straight edges and flat faces. The claim that they're definitely not natural, however, is very difficult to entertain due to the straightforward existence of conglomerates. Conglomerates are a mixture of bits and pieces held together in some kind of finer-grained matrix, and are found all over the world. This is from Egypt. This is from southern France. This is from Lebanon. And the concrete slabs found on the Vizičica hill look very similar to conglomerate. Rather than man-made, the way these slabs are formed is most likely due to ancient debris flows, which occur when a moving mass of loose mud, sand, soil, rock, water, and air travel down a slope under the influence of gravity. Ancient debris flows also explain why these concrete slabs become thinner the higher up you go, as the heavier parts of the conglomerate would roll down further due to gravity. These slabs are also reported to contain quartz, and it may be this and the natural geometry of the Vizičica hill that produces the claimed 28 kHz reading at the top. According to Russian pyramid research, all pyramid-shaped structures produce some kind of electromagnetic reading at their summit, possibly by focusing telluric currents around or beneath them, and the more precise the pyramid, the better the focus. This could explain why no similar readings have been found at the summits of the other hills in Visoko, as their geometries are not as precise as the Vizičica hill. Basically, everything you see at the so-called Pyramid of the Sun can be explained by natural processes. Also, from a civil engineering point of view, if you really were building a pyramid using rectangular slabs, there is no way you would lay them end-to-end on a slope because of the huge compressive forces this places on the joints, particularly those at the base of the structure. You would simply lay them horizontally, offset from one another, in a classic step pyramid design, which spreads the weight of each slab over the largest of the faces, not the smallest. This is the tumulus at Vratnica, and again these large blocks of stone could be man-made, but are far more likely an example of one of the techniques used by Osnekol Salesmanagic and his team of flower power workers to encourage tourism. Excavating, cleaning up, and sometimes even reshaping natural geological features to make them look artificial. This is the Pyramid of the Moon, and this so-called man-made pathway could just be excavated layers of sedimentary rock or laminated mudstone, which are again natural. It's also worth mentioning that what's being claimed to be tiled pathways may only appear to be pathways, because at the moment they've only been excavated to the approximate width of pathways. Also, unlike all other pathways, the ones found at the Pyramid of the Moon start from nowhere and lead to nowhere. Despite the many claims made online that the Ravna Tunnel complex is beneath, below, or under the Valley of the Pyramids, this network of tunnels is actually 2.5 kilometers away, as is clearly illustrated on this promotional information. The so-called megaliths within the Ravna Tunnel complex are an example of another technique used by Osnakoil sales manager and his team to perpetuate this fraud. Sensational and misleading use of terminology. Like, for example, claiming that there are chambers within the Bosnian pyramids when they're just air pockets. If you look up the definition of megalith, it has to be found belonging to a stone circle, arrangement of stones, or part of a recognizable structure where it performs some kind of function. And these things don't fit any of those descriptions. Whilst it's possible that more of these stones have yet to be found, and the ones excavated so far could be part of a larger intended pattern, it's far more likely that they're just boulders in glacial deposits. And, according to the geologist who first entered these tunnels and visited them regularly afterwards, the runic-like inscriptions found on these megaliths appeared later. The Ravna tunnels were probably used during the war and extend inwards for a few hundred meters. They are only assumed to be connected to the Valley of the Pyramids, and rather than Osnakoil sales manager's claim that his team are excavating old tunnels, it's far more likely that they're simply digging new ones. So don't be surprised if in the years to come it's discovered that, amazingly, the Ravna tunnels do connect to the Valley of the Pyramids. Or, in other words, this may well become a self-fulfilling archaeological prophecy. These are the large stone balls at Zavidovici, which is 50 kilometers from Visoko, so again they're not actually part of the so-called Valley of the Pyramids. Some fantastic explanations were being discussed when we visited, including giant rolling counterweights in a primitive construction device, navigational aids used in astronomical alignments, leftover alien artifacts, and further proof that Europe had an advanced civilization that used groundbreaking technology thousands of years ago. Sensational stuff, but it's far more likely that they're just megaspherolites, which are found all over the world and again a natural occurrence. According to Osnakoil sales manager, the Pyramid of the Sun passes the 7 tests of a pyramid, which are geometry, orientation, artificial construction, inner passageways, underground tunnels and chambers, water, and sacred geometry. Astounding, you may think, until you learn that the 7 tests of a pyramid were devised by Osnakoil sales manager himself. In other words, his pyramid passes his test. When I visited Visoko a few years ago, as part of the tour we were taken to the Bosnian Pyramid Museum, which contained very little other than small pyramid-shaped stones. No skeletal remains, no pottery shards, no remnants of ancient tools, in fact nothing that you would normally expect to find connected to a civilization with a large enough population and workforce to build pyramids. This museum seems to have now disappeared. Apparently, laboratory testing has proved that the slabs found on the Vysočica hill are man-made, and definitely not natural. I contacted each of the universities and institutions who performed these tests and received no replies. I also asked this man 3 times for at the very least the abstracts and conclusions of this research and again received nothing. The truth does not fear investigation. Other claims that turned out to be pixie dust include the involvement of a team of international archaeologists, many of whom have stated that they've never even been there, the support of an Oxford archaeologist who was just an unqualified undergraduate, and the endorsement of a British MP, whose name does not correspond with any sitting member of the British Parliament, past or present. Osnakoil Salesmanagic has also maintained for years that none of the critics have been there. This is completely and totally untrue. I've been there. So has Dr. Robert Schock, and we've both said the same thing. There are no pyramids in Bosnia. Osnakoil Salesmanagic is well aware of our opinions. If you're thinking about visiting Bosnia, it's a lovely country. Animals and farming, some spectacular views, lots of green, fertile land, and crystal clear blue skies. Most of the time, anyway. But if you're going there just to see Osnakoil Salesmanagic's archaeological theme park, and that's all it really is, there are a couple of ways to look at things before you decide. If you're willing to regard your trip purely as harmless New Age entertainment, you could tell yourself that you're also providing the Bosnian economy with a sympathetic financial contribution, particularly after a brutal international armed conflict in the 1990s killed an estimated 100,000 people. This seems benevolent enough, but there is a darker side to the pyramid scheme. Many of the staff I met working there were very nice people, but are risking permanent damage to their professional reputations by continuing to associate themselves with this hoax. The Ravna Tunnel complex is a mixture of hard and soft conglomerate, and the amateur workers extending these tunnels are risking a cave-in at any time. Someone could actually get hurt. Osnakoil Salesmanagic and his team have continued excavations around the area of Visoko in the hope of finding more natural geological features that can again be dressed up and sold to tourists as man-made, mysterious, or in some way special. Bosnia has a history of its own, and there are actually genuine ancient structures like here at Dawson. These new excavations could be destroying the true archaeological record in this region of the world, all for the sake of making money. The decision is yours. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel.